The most evil organization bent on taking over the world is led by the wisest Lieutenant Shun Miller, a man who would burn down whole villages without hesitation. The only one on the side of good foolish enough to stand in his way is the magical girl, Glass Happiness. And on their very first confrontation, he falls in love with her? No. This can't be. Buying her various gifts? Spending time alone with her? This is not befitting that of an evil lieutenant. How can the bad guys rule with world domination when their leader is in love with the opposing force that'd stop it? Find out in the comical enemies to lover tale of the magical girl and the evil lieutenant used to be archenemies. So let's get started and watch the story unfold. A young girl working as a cashier deals with some mild nagging with a customer too lazy to give his ID for the beer he's buying, when suddenly an intense shaking rocks the convenience store. The girl runs outside to a giant dragon in the middle of the city, breathing intense flames, causing the people to run in hysteria. A small cat with a manly voice tells Byakuya Mimori it's time to go to work, and we learn she's no ordinary girl as she ascends the starry steps, transforming into the magical girl Glass Happiness. She eliminates the dragon in a single strike, shattering the beast into starry lights. And approaching the man who summoned the beast, she tells him,
"This is as far as you go, Mr. Evil Lieutenant. I will not let you have your way."
With one look, the evil lieutenant, Shun Miller's glasses shatter. It was like her beauty made time slower for him. Could this be love at first sight? In the aftermath, all of his associates from the evil organization asked why he failed to suppress the magical girl. However, he assured them there was no need for concern, because arrangements for the next ground invasion were already in motion. He guaranteed the king of evil would receive news of his success coming soon. Confronting the magical girl again on a rainy day, Mira proclaimed, "You stood in our way the other day, magical girl. So today, you're in for a present." Then handing her a chiffon cake as he covered her with an umbrella from the rain. She noticed his shoulder getting wet, and even though he said he was fine, they moved somewhere under cover to enjoy the treat. Accepting the cake, she told Mira,
"You have a big heart, Mr. Lieutenant."
He grabbed at his chest, wondering what this pulsating feeling was. You see, Mira was born to an elite evil family, worked his way up the elite evil ladder, got an elite evil job, and now is the elite evil right-hand man to the king of evil. But now all of that and his elite evil life was totally derailed. Ever since the two met, he felt something's become wrong with him. He continued to monologue on the sophistry of being an evil lieutenant in his head, completely ignoring Glass calling out to him, until the moment she places her forehead on his, saying,
"Mr. Lieutenant, your forehead does feel warm."
But no, it wasn't just his head. His whole body was on fire as he dramatically fell to the ground. Glass quite enjoyed the chiffon cake, disregarding the fact that Mira was an evil lieutenant, because she believed he wouldn't do anything to hurt her. And even if he did poison the cake, she'd have to eat something eventually, as she only drank water for the past week. A surprising revelation to Mira. It all started when Glass started living alone once she graduated from middle school. Now she works a part-time job, lends a hand at a care facility, and works as a magical girl. She often forgets to eat when she's busy, but thinks of that as saving money. Even if her stomach is empty, her heart is full. Mira understood, but reminded Glass not to neglect her health, with the excuse being it would hurt the organization's reputation if he beat her while she was weak. She told him he was very kind, but for him it was a matter of pride, which is why he wanted to send her a year's worth of rice. Oh man, he's down bad. The lieutenant returned to his room to decompress, but thinking about how Glass put her forehead on his, he continually slammed his head into the couch. He tried to remind himself of his purpose as a lieutenant of evil, but somehow found himself buying cheesecake popular with women. This was the day he was gonna knock out Glass, with the taste of a no-bake cheesecake, of course. However, Glass fell over, shaking. As Mira picked her up, we learned she didn't have time to sleep because she desperately needed money. When a land shark took the facility she grew up in, a strange cat had appeared asking if she needed money, slapping her, telling her she could become a magical girl and save the world while selling herself. But afterwards, she found out the cat was in on the scheme with the land shark the entire time. Mira told her to give up on being a magical girl, since it didn't seem like she wanted to fight. But in response, Glass told him,
I won't give up. Nothing changes the fact that someone has to do this job. And I got to see you.
Witnessing her cute expressions, Mira began pounding a tree. He just couldn't take it. Glass was way too cute. He was willing to spend it all on her with his black card. Back in his office, he questioned if Glass was toying with him. He tried to remind himself of all the days he spent doing atrocities as the evil king's right-hand man. However, seeing an advertisement for a fruit tart popular with women, he just had to place an order for the girl he loved. And I'd love if you liked this video and subscribe to my channel. Here at My Shoujo Weekly, I've got plenty of comical romance stories to share with you. I promise if you like this one, I've got more in store. I also stream weekly, where I yap about anime topics and play games with you. So come on, join for the tea, subscribe to me. There was a lot of data missing on Glass happiness, so Mira was determined to straighten this out. By downloading the hidden footage of her, one of his lackeys suddenly came in with tea, making him slam his laptop intensely so as not to expose him getting lost in Glass's images. When the lackey proposed assisting in the capture of the magical girl, Mira denied it, declaring the task of taking down Glass was his alone. Later, we find Mira taking an imposing stance against a chef in a back alleyway. He quickly pulled out his black card, and we find out he hassled the chef out back for a limited time dream pudding that everyone else was waiting in line for. With Glass running in late to their park meeting, she apologized since she couldn't get work off. Seeing that she enjoyed the pudding, Mira blushed over her cuteness. He asked how many jobs she had, and seeing her count using almost all her fingers, he was flabbergasted. Many of them were one-time gigs though, and hearing her work at the convenience store was challenging, Mira asked her to give him a work impression.
Would you like your bento warmed up?
Warm it for me, please! He shouted in excitement, shattering the teapot with his hands. Glass forgot she was still in uniform, so with Mira prompting her to put on her formidable outfit, she got right to it. Transforming beautifully and descending from a star in the sky, he was in awe as she landed. However, he'd prefer she do it one more time for the camera. With Mira drinking his tea, Glass noticed a burn on his sleeve, and she offered to mend it. He dropped his teacup, shaking in nervousness because it was just like they were a married couple. He tried to tell her it was alright, but she reassured him she could do it quickly and that she was good at it, causing him to crush the teapot again, thinking he'd do anything for this lovely lady. While mending the coat, she mentions she's mended all her old clothes since they could still be worn as loungewear. So, Mira pulled out the black card, offering to take her shopping. Even though with all the work she does, she should be able to afford new clothes. This is when we learn her familiar, the cat that turned her into a magical girl, looks after all the money she earned. He manages her assets and finds job openings for her. He even made jobs getting easier with these business cards. Taking a card, Mira reads it describing night massage at your service, magical girl heaven, her magical girl name, and let's make the best memories tonight, which Mira immediately tells her to destroy. The night massages displease him deeply. She's accepted her role though, having taken on the name Glass Happiness, since happiness can be fragile as glass. But she didn't think being a magical girl was all bad, thanks to Mira's kindness. She blushed, handing the coat to Mira, thanking him for everything. Squeezing it shaking, he denied the kindness accusation, once again excusing it as pride. Returning to base, the lackeys welcomed their revered evil lieutenant, who was known for his unparalleled cruelty, obscured behind his glasses, devoid of emotion, but with a flower stitched into his sleeve? He turned, striking fear into all of them. Alone, he began thinking he was setting a poor example for his subordinates, but quickly tried to shake it off to remind himself he was the embodiment of evil. The next day, he and his lackeys attacked the city with slimes, causing destruction everywhere. He observed his completed work on his tablet until getting a shot of Glass, who was completely entangled. As Glass was struggling in a compromising position, Mira shot an intense flame at the big slime boss, obliterating it, catching Glass and bringing her down safely. He could hardly believe she'd be taken advantage of by such a low-grade monster. Coughing, she uttered,
I'm sorry.
which absolutely melted Mira's heart. Without even thinking, he went and saved her, Placing his coat onto her, he still questioned what was wrong with him. He told her to wear it and head home, and she responded,
Your clothes are so big and warm.
making him freak out and squeeze Slimes to calm down. Was this a tactic to take his will to fight? Because it was working. She thanked him for walking her home, and for the jacket. She knew he said he was going to buy a new one, but even having multiple jackets at his base, he just didn't feel the need to replace this one yet. She gasped, remarking him to be truly kind, and the two gave each other sweet goodbyes, knowing they'd see each other soon. Meeting once again with his cohorts, the man once known as the wisest of the evil army, Mira, is questioned on his continual struggle to subjugate the magical girl. Speaking confidently, he apologizes for causing concern, assuring them everything is going according to plan and on schedule. He then suddenly gets an urgent phone call for his preparations, which instills confidence into the other lieutenants, who just couldn't imagine Mira being ruled by his emotions. His reputation as being the brilliant and ruthless mind of the Empire. But little did they know, he was ordering an aged A5 Yonezawa Chateaubriand steak for his beloved magical girl.
Thank you. I've never been gifted a bouquet of roses before. And not to copy you, but I also brought you a present today.
Glass presented Mira a fake flower, since she had been making a lot for her side hustles. Mira then scolded her, still concerned she was working too hard. Staring with her eyes gleaming, Glass reflected on her experience with Mira.
Mr. Lieutenant is really kind. Ever since I met him, he's always been concerned about me. Sometimes he's kind, and other times he's harsh. It's hard to believe he'd be part of an evil empire. It's hard to believe he's not human too. I don't know why he reacts the way he does. Maybe it's because we're different. Can I see you again tomorrow, Mr. Lieutenant?
Having slammed down another beer, the cat familiar demanded Glass get him another one. She agreed, but peering at his monitor, she was distraught to learn he was selling footage of her defilement by the Slimes. With Mira accepting a drink offer from one of his cohorts at a hostess club, he exuded a deep sigh, thinking about how clear it was the so-called familiar was taking advantage of Glass. If it continued, he was certain she'd wear herself out. As his hostess came to sit next to him, he was lost in thought, and oh, it was Glass who seemed really depressed. Mira tried to assure her he wasn't here because he wanted to be. However, things took a serious turn when tears started welling up in Glass's eyes. Outside, she continued to sob as Mira wiped her eyes. He told her to take her time, to talk to him when she's ready. Shaking between every word, she told him there was an erotic video of her being sold. And man, Mira did not take this well. His pressure shook the ground with his desire to make whoever was hurting Glass repent for their sins in a sea of blood. While the familiar reviewed the indecent tape, Mira appeared, setting the computer ablaze in fury. He was sick of the cat working her unnecessarily and living off of her earnings. The cat denied any wrongdoings. However, Mira accused him of not being a familiar at all, but instead, a man in a cat costume. The cat told Mira this was none of his business. Whatever glory and money Glass earned, even her body, the cat claimed it all belonged to him. But as the familiar let off a disgusting laugh, Mira quickly sliced his head off. After finishing the deed, Glass thanked him and offered him dinner, taking Mira aback enough to snap his phone in half for her home cooking. With their meal finished, Glass commented on how she was glad he enjoyed the meal, since she's only ever seen him drink things. She was concerned he perhaps didn't like to eat. For Mira, though, he tended to only eat when he wasn't on the job, particularly enjoying sweets when he was tired, since that was when his mother had always made him some in his childhood. But now looking back at Glass's soft smile, he remembered she's been living alone since middle school. She explained at the care facility she grew up in, there was a bakery nearby that gave her and the other kids bread crusts to snack on, and this moved Mira, making him ready to max out his bank account for her. Having returned back to the org, Mira felt he needed to settle things with her tomorrow. That's when his cohort, Volmahot, came running to him, excited to announce effective immediately he'd be helping him subjugate the magical girl, and this upset Mira into considering a way to get rid of him. Volmahot came along, ecstatic to see Mira and Glass's meeting spot. He's apparently from a noble family, and the two have known each other for a long time since joining the org. Grabbing onto Mira, Volmal's eyes glimmered, truly desiring to help him out with anything. So Mira bopped his head, telling him to relax. Volmal could never doubt Mira, who was known as an evil lieutenant with an inhumane cruelty feared by all, never moved by emotion. Just the idea of Mira being overcome by a female enemy? Well, Fomal felt he'd need to see it to believe it. As Fomal continued to yap on and on singing Mira's praises, Mira then tossed a ball telling him to fetch, ultimately getting rid of him. Unfortunately, he returned quickly, wanting to shadow Mira's performance. Mira suspected this to be the King of Evil's way of keeping an eye on him. He didn't want to lose his credibility. Hearing Glass call out to him, he felt bad for her, but the time has come to settle things. Glass came running, panting out of breath. Her cuteness swayed his heart. However, still determined to defeat her, he proclaimed, "You're quite fast, magical girl."
I couldn't wait to see you, Mr. Lieutenant, so I ran here.
Glass replied, catching her breath. In response, Mira crushed the playground spring bouncer, knowing there wasn't a single moment that he didn't want to see her. However, remembering Fomal was still observing, Mira assured him this was one of his strategies, becoming amicable to make her drop her guard. His play was to not look at her, but oh man, the more he tried to turn away, the more he ended up staring. He really started to admire a certain part of her outfit. But reminded of Fomal's observation, Mira made the excuse that there was something hypnotic about Glass's eyes and warned Fomal to be careful. Then, to Mira's surprise, Glass had made him lunch as a thanks for all his help, to which he quickly told Fomal it was poisoned. Sitting down to eat, Mira contemplated how he could get out of this. No one's foolish enough to eat something they know could kill them, so he just needed an excuse to avoid eating it. However, when Glass noticed he'd been staring at his food long, she asked if he'd already eaten, so he quickly began scarfing it down. Fomal then cried out for his friend, remembering Mira never hesitated to burn whole villages alive, because a man who hesitates wasn't fit for the organization. Finishing the meal, he smiled at Fomal, telling him to think of poison only as a spice. Mira initially thought he'd have to eliminate Fomal, but since he was stupid and easy to convince things were gonna work out, he didn't have to. Except when Fomal mentioned wanting to be introduced to Glass. Mira's mission was as follows: explain his problematic relationship with Glass without raising suspicion, while maintaining his reputation, and make sure Fomal stays away from her. With Fomal getting introduced to Glass, he thanked her for always looking out for Mira. Hearing this, her eyes widened. She looked down, responding,
Mr. Lieutenant always treats me so well. He's very kind. I'm so grateful.
Making Mira lose it, spelling kawaii into a tree. Fomal then introduced himself, but reaching to shake Glass's hand, Mira caught it, reminding Fomal he warned that touching her might fry his hand off. Enjoying chocolate cake together, Mira wiped some chocolate off of Glass's face. She thanked him, but this led to a flustering mood. Fomal thought he understood, so he wanted to try being amicable next. Touching Glass's face, he told her next time he'd love to bring her treats to make her happy. Turning to Mira, he was certain he got it right, but this only pissed Mira off. Coming back with a ton of drinks Mira had bought, Fomal felt like they didn't accomplish anything today. He apologized because he really was sincerely trying to help Mira's reputation. However, there was something else Mira wanted help with. As he tossed the ball, making Fomal chase after it. Gotcha. He was going to make Fomal search to the ends of the earth, looking for the ball he still had in his hand. Hearing Fomal left, Glass remarked him to be a very cheery person who she thought was wonderful. Mira then asked if she was interested in him, looking somewhat saddened. Noticing, her eyes widened in concern, and she asked if he was pouting. When he denied it, she added she was happy now, knowing one of his friends, his name. She was happy to know a little bit more about Mira than she did before. Mira then reached towards her for a romantic moment, which Fomal completely ruined, bursting out of the bushes having found a rabbit. We turn back time to a rainy day, where the cat familiar had taken in Glass' happiness. He'd always known Byakuya Mimori as the kind of girl who was about ready to give up, but she was also quick to catch on to things. Telling her to get more booze, he observed her to be someone who doesn't really get attached to anything. There were a few things that were a no-go for her though, such as displaying her body, but generally speaking, she'd never put up a fight. Not once. Urging her to work, he found her sitting in a closet. This helped her relax since she was afraid of thunder. Scrolling through a variety of treats, Mira was stumped about what presents to buy Glass lately. Then, one of his lackeys came in and brought him down into the dungeon, presenting Glass Happiness, who had been captured and imprisoned. The lackeys were egging him on to torture her, so he smirked, saying it was time to begin. But first, he took them all out, as a way to give them examples for what he was going to do to her. Getting close to Glass, he said, "Ha ha ha ha, how about it? Scared of me yet?" Then whispered, "You aren't injured, are you?" He was so shocked he saw red, but now with one less problem, he still had to deal with the security cameras taping him. Looking down at her body, he needed to calm down, he was losing focus. However, with Glass shaking in discomfort, she uttered,
Mr. Lieutenant, I have to go to the bathroom.
Causing him to fall to his knees. He questioned if he was becoming some kind of pervert. He then went up to her, whispering she needed to hold it in, because he was going to find an opening for her to run. But knowing he'd get in trouble if she got away, she offered to let him do what needed to be done, only making him fall over again. This mission was going to be harder than he thought. Problem 1, she had no desire to run away. Problem 2, there were cameras. And problem 3, he kinda liked this situation. Then suddenly, Famal barged in, bringing the ball, which was a watermelon he thought Mira threw. This was the perfect opportunity for Mira. Famal could distract him and give Glass her chance to escape. But unfortunately, Famal misreads entirely, thinking Mira wanted to do things to Glass's body privately. So he left, telling Mira to treat her body with care. And now, Mira's breakthrough was gone. Now that the two were alone, the mood changed. He came in close to Glass, telling her face to face, "Since we're here, why don't we have a little fun? We've known each other for a little while now. Consider it a gesture of goodwill, something that can't be left on recording." And boom, the footage went out with all the lackeys blushing, hearing perverted sounds from Glass. Turns out she was moaning because he was tickling her. He was going to now have her pretend to faint. That way he could release her. She meekly asked,
Mr. Lieutenant, why are you helping me?
"I didn't like that you accepted defeat right from the start. You should want more than that." This gave her flashbacks to when she lived at the care facility, and their caretaker left her alone on a rainy day to go pick up the younger children. Even then, she hid in the closet and covered her ears at the sound of thunder. The younger children at the orphanage were in the same position as her, but she never felt she could speak out. She could never say what she wanted. She woke up in her room, with Mira sitting beside her. She had actually stopped breathing and passed out. He asked why she didn't say she was about to pass out, to which she responded she thought she could handle it. Mira was annoyed, getting up, telling her he had to handle a lot of paperwork because of what happened, telling her if something like this happened again, he wasn't sure he could protect her.
I know. I won't trouble you again. I'll be more ready next time.
Mira got angry, shouting in response, "That's not what I meant. Why are you?" The sound of thunder caused Glass to shriek. She was shaking, whimpering. Seeing it, Mira kept telling her he was leaving, and Glass kept responding she was okay. But then, lifting her head up, he saw her still there, still looking at him, and asked, "Do you want me to leave?"
Please stay with me.
She responded with tears dripping down her eyes. He smiled, coming down to sit by her, and in a gentle voice, he reminded Glass they were still enemies. With Byakuya Mimori being what this familiar considered a failure, he believed the new girl he'd take on to be better. The next day, enjoying tea under the bright sunlight, he believed his new magical girl had been blessed. Even though Hibana Kagari constantly went into a fit of rage, cursing incessantly, and seemingly unbefit to be a magical girl. Hibana is a 15-year-old girl who loves cute things, and could hardly believe she was chosen to become the magical girl of her dreams. So she consulted with her friends, Mr. Bunny and Mr. Bear, who encouraged her through her own ventriloquist pep talk. Mr. Bird was the one who made her a magical girl, and she was grateful for him. However, getting too embarrassed to express how she really felt, she assaulted him as a reflex. Then suddenly, things got serious as he sensed something, so it was time for work. Pulling her choker, she chased the vibrant crescent moon, transforming and adorning her black and blue magical girl outfit. Arriving onto the scene where the evil org's lackeys were harassing children, she snapped her staff in half and cursed over and over while beating the lackeys down with brass knuckles, standing atop a pile of corpses. In the evening, she hissed like a wild animal from an earlier skirmish. She had defeated a bunch of slimes with her magic, but wasn't prepared for the might of Lieutenant Shun Miller, who descended and instantly eliminated her with his flames. Back in his office, he felt some remorse having had to kill one of Glass's associates, but he had to do it to maintain his reputation. Hibana woke up screaming from the nightmare of the flame, and seeing her shaking from the pain, Mr. Bird came to her side, apologizing for putting her in harm's way. It was now, though, he decided to elaborate the structure of magical girls to her. First, as a familiar, he was a messenger of God sent from heaven to the earth, entrusted with a message. You could think of him as an angel. Among humans, they choose girls of pure mind and body, and bestow them magical girl powers. There were many familiars, and thus many magical girls. He truly believed she had what it takes to become the best, but didn't want her to risk her life to prove it. She responded that even if someone better than her came along, she'd still do it, because she admired magical girls. It's what she wanted. He then held her hand and thanked her for her work, to which she lightly responded, "Fuck," as her way of affirmation. The two were going to stand and fight together. Working her construction job, Glass thought it had been a while since she'd seen Mira. It's not like they promised to meet every day, but she's been thinking about him every day. Back in his office, Famal had found the ball Mira had thrown, but this was clearly an armadillo. Mira's rage was growing with all the distracting talk, so the lackeys pulled Famal out. Mira couldn't get his work done with his regretful feelings, so he thought it was best he see Glass again to receive his judgment.
Mr. Lieutenant, I haven't seen you lately. I was getting worried.
You know, don't you, that I disposed of one of your magical girl comrades?
Huh? I have comrades?
Mira was surprised, learning she'd never interacted with any other magical girls. He questioned if she even knew there were others, but to her, she plainly commented it seems they were having bad times.
Am I a heartless person? I heard that you had an exchange with another magical girl, but I'm just relieved that you came back to me safely.
Hearing this, Mira came in to hold her close. She questioned why, but he blamed her for saying it like that, and melting his heart. Then suddenly, Hibana appeared, cursing as per usual but ready to kill Mira. He was surprised she was still alive, but Glass knew who this girl was? What an interesting turn of events. What'll happen next? Will the Lieutenant and Glass happiness find a happy ending together? Subscribe for more. Also, watch this next video.
It's me, bun-mii!
And ComfyTea. We'll see you all in the next one.